Hi, my name is Ogi. I will show you my setup for Logic Pro X 10.5 with Avid S3, Avid Dock and Avid Control. Let's say you have a larger session and you want to move fast between groups of instruments or access individual tracks for fast editing, arranging or mixing. But at the same time you want Pro Tools or Logic Arrange window to update and show only those tracks for a cleaner view of your tracks. Plus you want to have your control surface automatically assign those channels to the faders. I will show you now how this works in Logic. So here you see only the VCA tracks for my drums, electronic drums, loops, basses, guitars, electric guitars, keys, lead vocals, backing vocals. I got stems here, stems some, rear bus for the band, some all, and master channel of course, and some monitoring channels which I use for my different monitors. So at this time you only see these VCAs because all the instruments are hidden. So I will now unhide my instruments and with a single click on the S3 Control Surface I will get all the session to show up. So you see acoustic drums with all the submixes and parallel compression. You have electronic drums, you have some loops, acoustic guitars, electric guitars, keyboards, lead vocals, 2 tracks, 1 lead vocal, 1 double, all the lead vocal submixes and tail spaces, delays and whatnot, backing vocals. And now you always see in each view, arrange view, you see my VCAs and the rest of my summing tracks. So how this works, I will now hide all the channels, and now with a single click of a button on the S3 I will show you only the drums. So drums are now shown in the arrange window, only the drums plus my VCAs, and they automatically populate on S3. Now let's go to our electronic drums. Immediately all the electronic drums are assigned to S3, and the arrange window shows only the electronic drums. Now my loops, now my bass guitar, now my acoustic guitars, electric guitars. As you see, they are immediately populated on the S3. Keyboards, lead vocals and backing vocals. So my session consists of 128 tracks. It's a combination of Fab Dupont's and Andrew Sheps's mix template. Let's go into Pro Tools and I will show you how I got the idea to set this up in Logic. In Pro Tools you can use memory locations which remember all the show hide settings of all the tracks in the session. In combination with Yukon layouts, you can move fast inside your project. You set up a drum memory location. It remembers the show hide settings of all of your tracks. Then if you call Yukon layout, you can then start editing drums. How to set up memory locations together with Avid S3. The way I do it is I send 2 Yukon commands on Avid S3 Surface. I will show you which commands are sent. So the first command is to call the memory location from the project memory location electronic drums, and then to call the layout which is completely auto assigned. Why do I use auto assign instead of layouts? Because with layouts I can access only 16 channels, predefined 16 channels on the surface. And with auto assigned, let's say I go into my electronic drums, they have more than 16 channels. And with banking, I can access the rest of them. I just bank to the right and I see the rest of my electronic drums. On the Avid Control Tracks page, I have only VCAs visible, so I can solo my VCA group fast. If I'm working on electronic drums, I can solo the electronic drums, call my layout for the electronic drums. Now I have soloed electronic drums. I have the arrange window showing only the electronic drums, and the S3 has populated all the faders with electronic drums. And if I want to now compare electronic drums, let's say with a bass, I just go to the tracks page of the Avid Control iPad app and solo the bass. And now I will hear only the bass and the electronic drums, and I can work and edit electronic drums on the go, together with controlling them from the surface. In Logic Pro X, you have different options with Yukon. There are no memory locations in Logic. Sadly, there is no VCA spill yet in Yukon. There is a Yukon command for screen sets, but you can't remember the show height states of individual tracks. The mixer window also doesn't have any options for showing user-defined tracks. It's either linked to a single channel. Let's see, in this case, I go to my kick and we go to the mixer. And now we see that kick goes into our acoustic drum stems and then into kick bass, kick crush, stem sum, rhythm bass, rhythm rear bass, sum all, and then all the outputs. But as soon as you click on other channel, the view changes. Then you have the tracks page, which is actually a copy of the arrange window. So whatever you have in the arrange window, you will have in the mixer. You will have in the mixer shown here, and you can normally select all the channels. And then there's a all page, and the all page is kind of messy because it depends on the order of the tracks being created actually. So it's kind of messy for me, and you cannot rearrange the tracks easily. There is a great way to customize the mixer via MIDI environment. I will show you how this works. So in the MIDI environment, you can customize all the tracks that you want via layers here, and you can have floating, frameless floating window like that of the predefined tracks that you want, plus Yukon layouts, and you can get customized mixer control. The thing I don't like with this workflow is that first of all, I don't like the look of the old Logic's mixer. Names don't work quite well, they work differently. Some of the options like input control is not accessible, and for each new session or each new track that you add, you have to rearrange the mixer by hand. It takes a lot of time and it's kind of messy. Our last option to combine Avid S3 with Logic Arrange window is to use groups. So Logic groups to the rescue. With Logic groups, you can show hide tracks like this, or groups of tracks fast. This command, show hide specific group, is fortunately Yukonized. So you can have this command on your Yukon Surface, which is great. And now you hide the drums and you show them, and it updates immediately S3 Surface and the arrange window. All we need to do, you have to decide on which buttons will you use for these commands. I use S3's left control command, and I find the command toggle hide group 1. This is hide group 1, hide group 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And with the shift button, I can access 9, 10, and 11. This setup works similar to memory locations. You have your drums, electronic drums, loops, bass, acoustic guitars, electric guitars, groups. And what is great, it even remembers the zoom states of individual channels. Let's say we want to see a bigger kick here, and then we close it, we edit some of the drum patterns, and we want to go back, and we see that the height of the kick drum is still remembered. In Pro Tools, you have to resave memory locations to be able to do that, so maybe it works even better than in Pro Tools. And now about my VCA approach. I have all my separate groups of instruments go into stem tracks. I wanted to use folder tracks, but they also act as VCAs. They are basically the same thing as VCAs with a folder function. And the VCAs are for some reason always visible on the S3. Let me show you. If I hide all the tracks, you always see the VCAs on S3. Even if you hide the VCAs in the arrange window, like this, you will always see them on the S3 Surface. I don't know why is that, maybe it's a bug, but it works okay, since I anyway want to have them visible and accessible always. A special thing is that you can assign one track to different groups. For example, we have a snare sub, and it is assigned to acoustic drums and auxes. Let's now show all the session and all the instruments. So you see that some of the buses and some of the auxes get in the way if you want to arrange stuff, if you want to rearrange, if you want to combine stuff, edit, and like that. So you can group these auxes into a special group, and you can hide them. And now you have access only to the individual tracks without special buses, auxes, reverbs, delays, and you can start working on your arrangement. The things that don't work. Some of the Yukon buttons still act weird and don't show active state. For example, screen sets don't update properly. Let me show you. You see the green button. Sometimes works, sometimes not. But the function works. Sadly, some of the logic commands are not Yukonized. For example, master volume control. You cannot control it via dock monitor control room knob. The function show hide all tracks sometimes takes about 3 to 5 seconds to populate the S3. But if it's a big session, those 3 seconds don't bother me. Let me show you. Now I want to hide all the groups. It takes some time. That's it. I hope I helped you in some way regarding Logic Pro X and Avid Control Surface. If you have any comments, questions or ideas how to use Yukon with Logic Pro X in a different way, feel free to share or comment. Thank you.